The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated podcast. I am your host, Mike Ezelina, and I am joined tonight by a guy I am certain could outmanage Joe Girardi. Regs, welcome back, my friend.
I don't know if that's the best compliment you've ever given me, considering how you feel about Joe Girardi. That might not say much about my managerial abilities.
Listen, I know about the Warriors and their performance, and I feel like, Regs, you certainly could outmanage a guy with a World Series ring. I feel like very confident in saying that. I just got done saying to a friend that I could have won a World Series with that 2009 Yankees team, but argument for another day. Hopefully he'll be gone by the end of the month. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. You've heard my struggles tonight with a particular.
It sounds like it.
We'll move past that and just say I'm doing good.
Good. How the Warriors doing?
So 1-1 weekend. Second game was tough. First game we mercy rule them 10-0. Big walk-off home run by our 4-hitter.
I love that. You gotta love a walk-off.
It was big. It was cool.
Like over the fence walk-off?
No. There's no fences that they can reach. It's just if you get it over an outfielder head and it goes,
you run for days.
You just run for days. Because not many kids can do it at this age.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And then in the second game, pitching wasn't great. Just lost focus a little bit. Some errors led to some runs that they probably shouldn't have. Ended up losing by 1. Just couldn't quite pull it back in the last inning. But we're getting there. The first game was really good. I mean, our first pitcher threw 22 pitches in 2 innings. So he was just dealing. Like we just
cruising.
Yeah. So second game, our guys who don't pitch aren't our best pitchers, but are our guys we run in the second game usually just didn't do as well. Okay. But, not bad. 1-1, not bad. The other team was pretty good. They made 4 really nice outs in a row to kind of get us out of the last inning. So good for them. Okay. Good for those kids. Made some plays. We didn't go out. We didn't go out looking. We went out swinging. We put the ball in play. So I was happy with the boys about that.
Oh, you can ask for. How are the umpires in that league? Okay.
It's wildly varied. They could be just fine or they could be just awful. Like I know they called Cole out on a play to the first baseman. He's in between second and first. He ranges too far away from first. He looks at first to try and go there. He realizes he's not going to catch the guy who just hit the ball. Turns to second. Cole gets the second. His momentum takes him a little bit off the base for like a split second.
Yeah.
The guy who grounded it, or got the grounder through to the second baseman. The second baseman just waves his glove at Cole, misses by that much, and the umpire calls him out. Like while he's standing on the pitcher's mound. It's like,
is there only one umpire?
Yes.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
And so, I mean, but all these guys are like in their 60s, and half of them look like they've just come off like they didn't go home the night before. I told you the one guy had like a smoker's like talk box. Like it's wildly varied, and 7U gets kind of the bottom of the barrel guys because it's not too hard to call them. But
strike zone's pretty big at that age.
It is on purpose. Like we want the kids to swing. Like all of us coaches tell the umpires we want it to be generous. We want these kids to be swinging. We just don't want them up there watching every pitch that goes by.
Right.
So we want it to be generous on purpose, but it's just never consistent usually. Like this guy was missing pitches at the letters, which is a strike anywhere. And it is what it is.
Unless it's Angel Hernandez.
Yeah. He'd probably still be terrible at this age. So
I'm sure he would struggle. I'm sure he'd struggle.
How'd the softball team do?
Sure, he'd struggle in my slow pitch softball league too. We won last week. I forget what the score was. I feel like we won pretty handily though, if I'm thinking back on it correctly. It feels like forever ago, but I feel like we won like 16-7 or something like that.
Nice.
Big night from your boy, man. Big night from your boy. Oh yeah, on base all 4 times.
Had a boy.
Scored all 4 times. Yeah, it was a big night. It felt like I was like
you were back.
Felt like I was back. got a game tomorrow. This team beat us last year.
The
So
Azzy of old.
yeah. I mean, just with the sore hamstrings. That's all.
Well, yeah.
But we play tomorrow against a team who beat us last year, and I remember walking off the field that game and being like kind of a jerk about it and saying, like, I hope we see these guys again, like being loud. I kind of look back on it, I was like, man, you got to be better than that. But I'm excited to play them tomorrow because it was one of those games I still remember we should have won. So
All right.
hopefully it goes well tomorrow. It's a 6:30 game or 6:15 game, and those are so early, like tough to get there on like at one time.
Yeah.
We're home, so I'm EHing to start. I don't have to play the field right away, which
There
is
you go.
nice. Can just kind of show up and swing a bat a little bit before I have to hit. So so 2-0, winning the standings
start.
right now.
Good
Yeah,
start.
it's a nice little start with a big game tomorrow. So Regs, what's the worst part about the Phillies right now?
I know your answer. I'm trying to think of a different answer. It's such a cliche answer, but it's just inconsistency. It's that you can't predict what this team is going to do. There's sort of nothing you could even, I know predicting baseball is hard to begin with, but you can't even sort of develop trends with this team right now. Bryce, I mean, you'd think coming off the spring that he was going to like just go nuts. Yeah. And he's getting back to the one thing I noticed about him is he's late on fastballs again. And when he wasn't hitting last year, he was late on fastballs. And yeah, I know he had a home run the other night, but like that was just like a gimme. He struck out 2 other times, and so he doesn't look great. Like you talked about Schwarber maybe finding a little bit of a groove lower in the lineup, and then Girardi throws him back up top, and he's 0 for 4 tonight with like a couple strikeouts and nothing great. And then Baum bobbles a ground ball, a tailor-made double play ball from, keeps Ranger in the game, gets all the guys on base out, and we don't get any outs. And then he takes too long for them to score another run because he takes these 2 slides because he's not confident enough to just grab it and throw it. It's just the inconsistency, man. We just can't get a good sense of what this team is or how they're going to play or how they face adversity, because I just feel like we haven't seen enough. We haven't seen anything consistent enough to know what we're getting out of this team. And it's early, it's still early, but it's also long enough that we should see something. And I just feel like we don't see anything.
Yeah, I mean it's early, but it's getting late. Like
with how the Mets are playing, it's getting real late.
There's a chance that they leave this weekend like 10 games out of first place.
Yeah.
And we're not even in the middle of May yet.
Yeah.
And you could say a lot of things is wrong, like that. A lot of things that are wrong with this team. I mean, there's so much that we could talk about. But I think some of that inconsistency goes back to the guy running the show down there. I just feel like, the things that Gabe got killed for, we just give this guy a pass because he's got the World Series ring that I could have won with that roster. Like, it's the 9th inning. I'll just call number 42 to come out and finish the game for me. Like, the easiest job in baseball was that job he had in 2009. Just sitting there and putting the same lineup out there day after day after day, and banking on number 42 to close the game. There wasn't a whole lot of thought that went into it. And this guy is about as mediocre a manager. He is a mannequin sitting on that bench. Like, in that dugout, he's an absolute mannequin. There's no expression, there's no emotion. The other night, the Mets are clearly throwing at Kyle Schwarber. Yeah. Like, it could not have been clearer that they were throwing at Kyle Schwarber. Look at the difference between our manager and Buck Showalter. Even when teams aren't clearly throwing at his players, what's he do? He's up on the top step. Mm-hmm. He's yelling at the umpire. He's yelling at the pitcher. And I'm not even a Buck guy, but like, show a little bit of like, I care and I give a crap. Like, Attitude reflects leadership. Thank you. Remember the Titans. And right now, this team's attitude is so just let's go through the motions. We'll play the game every night. Like, say what you want about Gabe Kapler, but his teams never felt like they were going through the motions until they brought guys onto the roster who were used to going through the motions. Like the first 5-6 months of a baseball season, like, oh, look, he's actually up. Oh, no, that's not him. He's sitting in his same spot. Okay, cool. But like when they brought over as Asdrubal Cabrera,
yeah,
like a guy who was used to going through the motions in New York, like that's when the dynamic and the culture changed. Before that, these dudes played. They were in first place. Like some of that's on Clentac for not finding the right culture fit. But like now, I don't know what this culture that Girardi has is, because these guys just feel like every night they're going through the motions. You already talked about how I feel about changing Schwarber around. The guy homered 3 times in the last 2 nights. And what do? You move him out of the spot that he was showing some comfort in and leads him off tonight. And here we are, 0 for 4, struck out with runners on second and third and nobody out. Like, you just can't. Good job, Roman. You just can't do that. Like, the only highlight of tonight's game, Regs, is that the Rangers had to face Ranger Suarez,
yeah, right.
and that's never happened before. There's actually, thanks to a teacher at my school, Randy, he texted me and said there's never actually been a guy with the first name Ranger that's pitched in Major League Baseball. So this would be the first time that's ever happened. Pretty cool. But that's the only good thing about tonight's game. Like I there's nothing else that I'm taking out, unless they find a way to pull this out.
I know you wanted to be brief on the Phillies, and I know when we start talking about them, we get too into it. So I'm going to be brief.
Okay.
My hope is that Castellanos and Harper can come together to bring up the collective energy of this team. We saw it. I'm hoping before the second half of the season. Like we saw it in the second half of the season. Bryce obviously got hurt in the first half last year, but when he came back, like we've talked about many, many times, he not only dragged this team from a stats and like play standpoint, we saw the leadership we were hoping, that he didn't let guys like be down like this. The guys weren't good and the team wasn't good, but at least he was trying. And I feel like Castellanos is that same kind of guy. I feel like he's going to be the first guy to sort of shut the doors and be like, can we get our heads out of our asses, please? Like, I don't care. I don't care who's managing the team.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like he could be that guy to help Harper in that instance. Because you're right. A lot of the guys do look lethargic or just, like you said, going through the motions. I would hope, that's my hope, is that those two guys can sort of take that. And I think you made the point when we were talking about getting Schwarber and Castellanos that Schwarber's just the guy who's everyone's going to like him. He's going to be that dude that guys can go to because everyone's going to like him. No one's going to say a bad word about him. And that's just that's his way. That's cool. There's no problem with that. Castellanos is the guy who, from a leadership perspective, I feel like Bryce needed to help him out. I don't know if we haven't seen it from JT. We haven't seen it from Reese. I think Castellanos has the personality and has been playing well enough to back it up, that I think he can be that guy. And not to compare Joe to the guy across the street in Glenn, but I feel like this DeAndre Jordan thing is the same thing as freaking Didi Gregorius. Like, he just can't quit. Yeah, he can't quit him.
It's on the list tonight.
At this point, I don't care how much money you're paying him. I know it hasn't been that long, and I know he had an RBI tonight and he had 2 hits. But like, what are you not getting out of Bryson Stott that you could get out of Didi Gregorius right now, other than Joe Girardi just loves Didi Gregorius and won't put him on the bench because he thinks he's the guy he won a championship with, so he only thinks about him in the context of 2009. It's like, why can't we have a kid? We don't need Didi out there. He's not giving us anything more than this kid who needs at bats could get us at the major league level. And I'm going to stop because I'll just keep going. And I know we wanted to be brief, but it's just like, I hope Castellanos and Harper can turn this team's attitude around.
Couple of quick notes to follow up on that. The first being, I think so Didi wasn't on that '09 team. That was still Jeter, but I think his like affinity for Didi comes from the replacement of Jeter. He came in and handled that with grace and class. And look, there's nothing wrong with Didi the human being. He's a good dude. There's no doubt about that. And this team has a lot of issues right now. Didi tends to be on the oddly, as much as I complain about Didi, he's played better than some of the other dudes on the roster. But I get your point, and I think a lot of it is the money side of things. That being said, yeah, I say often that game over.
Yep.
Good job, guys. Good.
Sure,
good
we're
balls.
0 for 5, by the way.
Solid job putting him back in the leadoff spot, Joe. I said this with Gabe when people would complain that like the team wasn't responding or they were going through the motions, things like that. I don't expect the manager to close the door, throw chairs. Like,
you and I have argued about this just personally before we had a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I don't know, as a leader, like I'm not gonna get the most out of my people by doing that. Like, it's just not the way I'm going to get the most out of the people and I get it. Professional athletes, like where you're talking two different professions, but like, I'm not going to be able to kick people in the butt by yelling and screaming and that's fine. But peers will get more out of each other. So like when you say having, Bryce and Nick close the door, Bryce isn't really, that guy's not like Chase in that way who's going to get in your face when you were screwing around, but Castellanos is.
Right.
Now he's on paternity, so he probably won't be back till the Mets series. But all that being said, like this team's 5.5 games out of first place. They've got 4 against the team ahead of them this weekend, and there is a really, really good chance that they're going to be looking up in the standings by about 10 games, and already be done with half of their games against the Mets. So, yeah, good for them. Looks like it could be a long summer of baseball for us. And
we just
we're
couldn't.
we're gonna leave it there.
All right.
We're gonna leave it there, and we're gonna move across the street for a team I feel a little bit I feel worse for than I do for the Phillies. When you think about the ranking of how I'm feeling about teams right now, you can see who I'm feeling the best about based on my attire tonight. The Sixers I feel badly for, so I still feel like good about the Sixers. And the Phillies, they're just off the screen. We didn't have a show since the Joe injury announcement. And I know I texted it to you, but like your initial reaction to when that came out on Friday night.
I mean, just like devastation.
Yeah.
I don't really know how else to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a game.
Yeah, I think
it's a game they're, winning by a bunch. Debatable if he should even be out there.
Yeah.
He was. And it's just an unfortunate, like, we were doing so well. I know he had the thumb thing, but it looked like he was playing through it, and he, wasn't going to hurt it anymore, and he wasn't going to have to miss games. Yeah, just devastation is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and I've gone back and forth. I blame Glenn for a lot. I don't know if this is the place I'm gonna place the blame on him. Like, you had a guy who's ticked off and let his body control go out of whack, and like that could happen in the first quarter of the game.
Sure.
So I don't know. I get the angst there, but I'm also like, I give Glenn enough crap for a lot of other stuff. I was devastated too, and I'm that's what my Phixated's on tonight, so I'm gonna hang tight on getting down that road. But I mean, you said it before when you were talking about Didi and Girardi and you mentioned and brought up DeAndre Jordan and Rivers. How is there not an assistant coach that's looking at him and saying like, "Hey, Doc, like, he's not good. Like, he's really bad, and putting him on the floor is not helping us at all. Like,
there is somehow Doc Rivers got a bigger ego than when he was a player because he won one championship with Boston.
I mean,
like, he's won one championship, right? I'm not misquoting.
no,
he has one
as a
ring.
coach,
Yes.
yeah, and that's, I mean, he had the holy triumvirate of like Hall of Famers on that team.
Yeah, and then he goes to a team, and again, this is why I brought it up with Didi. Doc Rivers coached DeAndre Jordan through his prime on the Clippers. Like the Lob City Clippers was DeAndre Jordan at his absolute peak of NBA prowess. Why an owner from the Sixers isn't calling Doc, or the GM isn't telling Doc, what the hell are you doing? Like, there are people above him who could say something.
Yep.
And why they aren't, I don't know. Hopefully they are in between these games. How do you say that I'm going to play DeAndre Jordan as much as I want to, and I don't care what you think? That just means everyone else is right, and you're just being an ass about it.
Like, this is the hill. I said this in another episode. This is the hill he wants to die on, man. Like, this is his see you later, sayonara. He did this last year with Ben. Like, it was the same stuff with Ben. Like, he just kept sticking by it. Then eventually he sat him in the fourth quarter of games.
Yeah.
But it's going to be too little too late. And I don't want to hear he doesn't have a choice. You know what? He's the reason he doesn't have a choice. He is the reason he's in this position right now, because he was too stubborn during the season to play Paul Reed. And he was too stubborn during the season to play Charles Bassey. Like, if he gives these dudes the opportunity in season to play basketball games, then they can step right in and find cohesion and be okay. Look, Paul Reed is a strange dude to watch. Like, he doesn't do anything normal when he's out there, and that's fine. And he fouls like crazy. And I don't know that everything's necessarily a foul. I just feel like a lot of times it's because he's just out of whack. His body's always like kind of flailing all
over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like, I mean, the team's clearly better when he's on the floor than DeAndre Jordan. And DeAndre Jordan had 2 rebounds in like 20 minutes last night. How? Like, that takes a special kind of bad. He's the biggest guy on the court.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I don't know how he's still on a team, to be quite honest. He must be the nicest person in the entire planet.
Riggs, he got cut by like 4 or 5 teams this year.
I know, but people still pick him up for some reason.
I just think it's because, you want that veteran kind of not presence.
What about DeAndre
like,
Jordan screams leadership? Like, what veteran do you like? What kind of presence is he?
The problem is that the Sixers have never found the right backup for Joel Embiid.
Yeah, because
they're on a
Joel
constant
Embiid.
search.
Like,
they're on a constant. All they need is 15 minutes a game.
I would take Robin Lopez at this point.
The 15 minutes a game is Paul Reed, and I'd much rather some sort of lineup. And I was going to ask you what you'd like to see, but I'd much rather a lineup that's like a mixture of Reed, Bassey, and when they went small last night, Niang played the 5. Like, that's what I'd rather see. Like, I'd much rather that than watching DeAndre Jordan regs. Then I want your thoughts on lineup options. Here are the numbers with him on the court and off the court last night. With him on the court, their offensive rating, the Sixers' offensive rating was a 90.6. When he was off the court, their offensive rating was 103.3. On the court, this one's a little confusing. The defensive rating, the lower it is, the better it is. Their defensive rating with him on the court, 159. Defensive rating with them off the court, 91.7.
That's like 60 points.
Their net, okay, the net, actually his net, when on the court, negative 68.8. Off the court, 11 plus 11.6. 2-point percentage for the Heat with him on the court, 63.6. Off the court, 50%. 3-point percentage on the court, 38.5%. Off the court, 17.4%.
How can you be that big and only get 2 rebounds?
And how can you be a head coach in the NBA and say, well, I'm going to keep playing NBA no matter what you think? Bro, get over yourself. You're losing this you're losing this series based on ego. And look, here's the thing. Without Joel, you're probably not winning it anyway. And with Joel, it's questionable that you win. But you are handing this. That was a winnable game last night, Regs. It was a winnable game. Yes, they shot 6 of 24 or whatever they were. 6 of 34, I think it might have been. But like, that game's winnable, and he didn't do anything to help them win it.
Yeah,
I'm done.
No. It's we have the same issue across, like, in both stadiums right now. These guys have won 1 championship, and their ego of thinking they're the smartest guy in the room is getting in the way of team success.
Mm-hmm.
Joe always thinks he's so smart for making these moves or leaving a pitcher in or moving lineups around. He always just wants to be, he wants a pat on the back to say, good job, Joe. You move that guy around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doc is sort of different in that I'm not going to move anything around because you tell me to. It's almost like, you ever watch Parks and Rec?
Oh, yeah.
Like with how Ron Swanson is like, I don't do anything anyone tells me to do.
Yeah.
The Reverend told me to repeat after me, and I fell silent for 2 hours at my wedding. You know what I mean? Like, that's what Doc does. He's like, no, I'm not going to do something because you guys tell me I should or that the numbers tell me to do. I'm Doc Rivers. I know just from my instinct, that this is what we should be doing. And it's like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. And you sound like an idiot when you open your mouth. The NBA has gotten too smart for this crap. Like, we're past this. You're not in the 1980s anymore, Doc, where coaches just could coach on like instinct and, I have a good feeling about this guy. Or I've seen him in practice and, he really gives it his all.
Mm-hmm.
Too much smarts has come into these sports, baseball included, to just go on your gut and ignore everything else. And you just look like an idiot. You just look stupid. I even tweeted it. I tweeted it from the Phixated account. I said, you can't be this dumb. Like, only someone really stupid would say things like this. And it just, I don't know who from an ownership and front office standpoint at the Sixers sees this and could, I don't think he'll last the season. He'll last the season. He won't come back next season. Fingers crossed. But it's like, who's not making a phone call? Doc, you can't say this dumb shit to the media and national television. Like, you make us look incompetent. The entire organization looks incompetent because of your comments. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Yeah, this is not the city to do that in. Like, we're too smart of a sports city. Yeah, it's just not the place to do it. Your thoughts on lineup options? Like, obviously he's going to keep doing this, and I don't know if it really matters in the end. But like, do you have anything that you would like to see? Anything like in agreement with me or disagreement with me?
I think, like you said, Reed should have all of DeAndre's minutes. There's nothing from a stats perspective.
I think his fouls.
At least
probably.
Reed is going to. But all right, fine. So what?
Yeah.
If he fouls out, then put your guy back in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever. We don't need Paul Reed in there for, 20 points. We need someone who's going to show some effort.
Yeah.
DeAndre Jordan is 6'11" and he had 2 rebounds. 2.
Yep.
That's almost impossible.
Yep. I know.
So it's like, at this point, you just need guys who are going to give a crap.
Mm-hmm.
So fine, put Paul Reed in, start him. If he fouls out by the third quarter, whatever.
And Charles Bassey
Right.
time.
There you go. It's just, I don't know what else from a sort of, I mean, Niang isn't shooting great. Korkmaz came in and got some garbage time points at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't think you should have Niang at 22 points and Korkmaz at 10. Like, I feel like those guys should be a little closer together. Like maybe 15 and 15. I know they throw
Niang's
Niang in
playing
because
some center minutes.
that's what I mean. I know he's taller.
Yeah.
So I get it from that.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't going to be a great take, but it's like, if you like, you don't need points out of Paul Millsap, but just maybe throw him in to be like a smart player.
He played last.
I know he
played
did.
last.
I know he did, but it's like,
it wasn't pretty, but it was better than DeAndre. It's a high effort. It's high effort.
That's what I mean. Paul Millsap is a smart enough guy,
and he plays with effort,
that he's going to do a couple things right. DeAndre Jordan is literally like, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know how to describe him. So from a lineup standpoint, I don't think I disagreed with anything you said. I would be, I'm with you with all that.
I mean, I think just a couple of quick takes from the game last night. If you have any to add, then please do. Like, I mean, Toby was great last night. Played his tail off. But the problem with Toby is like his best game's just not enough to carry you. You know, he was fine and did a lot well. But he's not going to do enough to carry you like for an entire game. And that's and we've talked about this on the show and we've probably heard about it all over the national media, the local media. Like James Harden's not that guy anymore. You know, you said it to me before before his first game here. Last night, if there was ever a time for James Harden to go back to the James Harden of Houston era, that was it. And he clearly doesn't have that. And without Joe on the floor, it begs the question, you know, again, 6 of 34 or whatever they were. I can't remember the exact number, but it wasn't
right now. It was 6 of 34.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
17%.
Okay. All right. It wasn't pretty from 3 last night. And that's why he only had 5 assists. Are the Sixers going to shoot that poorly every night? You'd hope not. You know, Niang being over 7 feels weird. Danny Green was like 1 of 6 or something like that last night.
5.
1 for 5. Maxey only made 1
Toby
3.
1 for 4. Maxey 1 for 6.
Yeah, they weren't hitting. And again, Maxey was trying to hit some shots like when he's heat checking himself. So definitely not.
Yeah. So a couple things
definitely not great.
A couple things I saw. The 15 offensive rebounds is too many. That's a lack of defensive effort from the Sixers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And again, they're not a great defensive team regardless, but you kind of see that huge hole that Embiid leaves in the middle of that defense when you let a team like Miami, who is they play hard. They're going to go after all those offensive rebounds. But like, can someone box out? Can someone put a body on anybody? Like anybody at all? So number one, that wasn't great. And then I think to the Harden point, my biggest thing is 5 assists. That's not enough.
Yeah.
I'd rather
you just wonder how many of that is like missed shots too, though.
So it could have been, sure.
Yeah.
I bet that's a part of it. And that might speak to, you know, I think like I said, I'd rather him score 12 points and have 10 of those, you know, or 12 of those. And I think we'd be better off. This was just a game where combine the bad shooting, poor defensive effort, and Tyler Hero being hot. 4 for 6 from 3. Like, you know, when you have a guy like that who's shooter like that, who's shooting like that, there are sometimes you just, you know, there's not much you can do. It is what it is. We've seen Steph Curry literally take over the league being that guy. Tyler Hero is not Stephen Curry, by the way. But I just mean, when you get a shooter hot like that, and you get a defense that is just not good, it's not a good combination, especially when you're not scoring to sort of match it on the other end. My worry is that the effort of the Heat will continue to be the X factor in these games. That I don't think that offensive rebound number changes very much next game. And that's an issue. If you're going to give this team a bunch of putbacks and a bunch of second chances, it's not good. They're too good of a team to give second chances to, and you're not good enough of a team to let that many go. So their effort from a defensive standpoint, guys are going to make shots. It is what it is. There were too many easy buckets. There were too many offensive rebounds, and that's an effort thing. That's not anything else.
So you mentioned Tyler Hero, and he's my Brandon Nimmo of the NBA now. I don't like his face. I don't like his face. I didn't enjoy his interview afterward. I don't know why. Probably just because I don't like his face and because he just completely went off against the Sixers.
This is like the prototypical AAU kid. He's been the greatest player in his podunk little white high school, right? For 4 years. He's been the best player in his podunk little town since he was 7 years old. And I'm not taking anything away from him. The dude is a good basketball player.
Yeah, he's a good player.
I'm not taking anything away from his actual skill.
No, he's just annoying.
But he's been the man in high school for 4 years. He's AAU, right? The AAU kid who's been on Instagram. You know, all his highlights have been on Instagram forever. Talking smack to the other team, the other team's fans going after him and him going back at them. This guy's just had an ego his whole life, and it doesn't go away. You know what I mean? When you get it to the NBA, and he had a good rookie season. He had a little bit of an off year last year.
Yeah.
But he's brought it back this year, and that stuff doesn't go away. And so he's just going to be an annoying little prick, and that's who he is.
I
a really good basketball player, but an annoying little prick.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And there was a play in the game early, and then one more thing on the Sixers before we jump over to the Eagles. Do you remember the play where Thibault blocked a shot, didn't touch him, and they called the foul?
Yes.
And he got 3 shots. That's a moment for me where I really felt like Doc should have done the challenge. I know, he likes to save his challenge. He's not a challenge early guy. But you're giving them 3 points in that spot. Hero's a great free throw shooter.
Yeah.
He's not missing those shots. Challenge it, see if you can get a stop, because that game was an 8-point game at that point. And then he made the 3 free throws and it went up to 11. It drives me nuts that refs call that foul on Thibault. And that happens way too often. I think it just surprises them that he can make that play.
Yeah.
And they're not used to defenders in this league being able to make that play. And then one last thing here. Obviously Joel didn't travel with the team to Miami. I'll put it to you this way. Somehow they shock the world tomorrow. They win. They go back 1-1. Or they do what everybody expects. They lose, go down 2-0. What's the likelier situation that Joel plays? 1-1, 2-0.
I mean, it has to be 1-1.
You think so? I think it's 2-0.
I kind of look at it do we have a chance in this series?
Right, that's what I'm saying. If go ahead.
I just mean if we stole one, literally it would be stealing at this point.
Oh, if we win tomorrow, yeah, it's a total
And
fever,
at that point, I hope that they capitalize on how Miami would be feeling after that. And if you steal one and then you come back home and now Miami has to see Joel Embiid in the building and playing, that's a whole psychological kind of difference. So that's that's my mind. That's my thought process. I know exactly what you're talking about. So, if you're down 0-2, you kind of have to put him out there to give you any kind of a chance to bring this back. So I get it from that standpoint.
Yeah. I just feel like if you're 1-1, you can sit another game and get the appropriate rest necessary. That being said, I think if it is 1-1, Joe's going to try everything he can do to play in that game.
And I think it's absolutely two sides of the same coin. I completely agree with everything you said about the 1-1. In just my brain, like I'm looking at the other side of the same coin that you are.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, it's very clear that this guy matters a lot. Some would say he's very valuable to the Sixers. Maybe the most valuable to the Sixers.
I'm putting you on the spot right now. What happens the rest of this series? Predict the rest of this series. We do have
to do that. I think we do because we didn't do that before.
And I'm talking too much, so I want to hear from you.
All right, they're gonna lose tomorrow.
Okay.
I think they'll tie it up at home with Joe.
Okay.
I think they lose in 7.
All right.
I do think they fight this series. I think the Heat's depth is just too much. And without Joe, it's way too much. Yeah. I think they lose in 7.
Okay.
I don't have a good reason why, and I wanna so badly pick them. And I think if Joe, if he got out of that series clean, I think I would have picked him. I think I would have picked him in 6. Not having him right off the bat though, like I think last night if Joe plays, nothing happens in those final 4 minutes of that game, I think they win last night because no Lowry and Joe being on the floor changes that offensive rebounding situation.
Sure.
Joe being on the floor adds 15, 20 points that they didn't have otherwise. The defense in and of itself leans on Joe. So, yeah, I think tomorrow's a loss. I think it's another double-digit loss. I think it's very similar to what we put the Raptors through.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that coin, I think we come home and win both games. And we go back there and make it best of 3
with Joel.
With Joel.
Okay.
I think we lose every game on the road.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't see us winning a game on the road in Miami, even though it's not a very difficult place to play. I don't know this. I just don't feel good about this series with Joe being banged up the way he's banged up. I will say this: if they do find a way to win it, and he's at the front of that victory. I don't want to hear a human being ever question this man's mental or physical toughness ever again. We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, the draft. What a 3 days we had.
It was something.
If I could hug Howie Roseman, I would.
That's a big statement coming from you.
I think
we were all waiting for something different to happen.
He didn't do anything wrong this weekend. He did not a thing. I can't remember the last draft that I walked away. Maybe last year. I felt really good after last year, but I don't think I felt this good after last year. And that's even coming from the guy who is so dead set on we need a corner, we need a safety. He didn't take a corner, he didn't take a safety, but he stayed true to the board. And Regs, that's how you have to draft in the NFL. You have to stay true to your board. And I'm pumped that he did it. I really am. I
am only going to not argue, but just ask your opinion on the first pick. Was
Jordan Davis?
I'm not talking bad about Jordan Davis. I
understand.
But based on the needs that this team has, and the sort of variability in the positions that we have a need at, with Williams being on the board still, and the need that this team has. Who am I
Hamilton?
Hamilton, sorry. I keep calling him Williams. Hamilton, thank you.
No, you're good.
I feel this is a non-educated opinion. I'll just put that out there right now because you know much more about this, so just shut me up. But I feel like getting a safety like that is harder to do than finding a D tackle that's the kind of run stopper that Davis is. I feel like things have shifted in college football that these D tackles they're not one in a million. A guy like this he's still uber athletic. He's just a mountain. Like, so I get it.
Such a big
and maybe
boy.
I'm not using this guy as the best example of it, but maybe I'm just speaking of D tackle in general. And I just feel like Hamilton at that position with the need that this team has, I still kind of feel like I rather would have had Hamilton. Just because of how the secondary has affected this team and has always been a need that this team has had for 7 years, 9 years, like pick a number. So again, I'm not
since Malcolm left.
Yes, I'm not upset about it. I'm not. Let me preface with that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was a bigger need in the secondary. And with that guy still being available, I kind of really wish we would have taken him.
So this organization, I haven't done it, but I'd be interested to see the last time they took a safety in like the first 2 rounds. I maybe next show I'll look that up for us. But this has always been an organization since I've been alive, at least, and I'm sure prior to, I'd have to ask my dad, that's built from the trenches out.
Yes.
Think about the 2017 Super Bowl team. Who's the number 1 corner?
Jesus, what's his name? Mills, probably.
He was number 2. It was Ronald Darby.
Oh, that's right. Jesus.
And those 2 guys they're not studs out on the outside, like either one of them, right? I mean, yes, they had Malcolm Jenkins, who,
I mean, let's be fair, they did kind of get torched by Tom Brady.
Well,
that Patriots team.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, that's just Brady did that to everybody, does that to everybody. But the rest of the season, no one touched them defensively. They were one of the best defenses in the NFL that year. And a lot of that was because the front 4 did what they were supposed to do, and that was get home and get to the quarterback. So, there are questions about Jordan Davis's pass rush. I don't know that we'll see it this year because of, oh my gosh, they are so loaded on the defensive front now. They basically go 8 deep along that front. And I think what Jordan Davis is going to do, at least in the run game, he eats up like 3 dudes. Like, he's that massive of a human being. What is it, 6'6", like 320? Well, right now he's 340, but he wants to get down to 320. Like 6'6", 320, and he runs a 4.7.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I was a little bothered at first by the number of picks that they gave up, but the Ravens are taking Jordan Davis. Like, that is such a Ravens pick.
Yeah.
And of course I wanted Kyle Hamilton. I'm a Domer homer through and through. Like, there's no doubt about that. They're just not gonna do it. And I don't know that they're even gonna do anything else in free agency at safety. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu just signed with the Saints, and there are some veteran safeties still floating out there, but Howie talked a lot about how he likes their safety room and the people in the building like their safety room. And this front 4 can get the job done, or this front 8, I guess you'd say at this point. We'll be able to get enough pressure to cause errant throws and chaos, and Jordan Davis make the linebackers' jobs a lot easier. And by my God, do we? The Eagles have linebacking core in forever and a day. I mean, they're going to fly all over the field. It's going to be unreal. Did I want Kyle Hamilton? Of course I wanted Kyle Hamilton. I still think he's probably the best player in the draft. But I had my expectations tempered. I think I said it to you multiple times, and as I was saying they're not going to take Kyle Hamilton. I'm going to have to get over my disappointment. I clearly had to get over my disappointment right after, but once I talked myself through it, I was fine, and I liked the pick a lot. Look, they're not for this year. They're drafting for the future, and Fletcher Cox is gone after this season.
Yeah.
Like, this is it for Fletcher Cox. So you've got Fletcher Cox's replacement on your roster now. And he's a guy who's highly touted, comes from the best defense in the country. I do think he'll see some passing snaps this season just to kind of see what he's got. I don't think it'll be early. I think it'll be later, but I do think we'll see it. But this dude is massive. I cannot wait to watch him play.
Listen, I'm with you. I'm not upset about the pick. I think I was a little thrown off when it first came through, and I know I texted you about it.
Yeah.
And again, you're absolutely right. With Fletcher being gone, having this dude is huge. And he literally comes from the best defense college football has ever seen, and we literally have two of them. And we have the leader of the best defense college football has ever seen, with the freaking 83rd pick, which is nuts.
Yeah, I'm. Yeah. Well, let's jump there for a second. We're gonna jump around a little bit. Let's go right to the third round. I could not believe that Nakobe Dean was still on the board when the Eagles came up at 83.
I had to figure out who he was.
This guy was a middle
that guy.
Yeah, middle to the end of the first round in every single mock draft known to man. And apparently they were talking about like needing surgery on his pec. Clearly, so to me, what happened was that when the Sixers picked at 51, the guy they had on their board, when the Eagles picked at 51, Cam Jurgens, who we'll talk about in a little bit, was higher on their board. I don't think there's any doubt that was the case. And then it got to 83 and he's still there. And I mean, they basically ran the card up.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there was I don't know if there was any time in between when the pick came in and was announced before them at 82 to 83. It's a first round talent. And yeah, health's going to be the biggest question that surrounds Nakobe Dean. But dude, if he is healthy, Kazir White, and if Davion Taylor's healthy, or if it's TJ Edwards, whoever it's going to be, I don't know that we've had a linebacking core like this in a long time, if ever. And he is a leader. I mean, he said in his press conference, he's been a leader for like as long as he can remember. It's just naturally been part of who he is. And they've also missed that since like Malcolm Jenkins has left. They haven't really had that guy, and BG went down last year. That was really soul crushing to the defense. I mean, this is a dude who it was in the national title game. He got in a guy's face for crossing over him in coverage. On the next play, that dude sacked, made a huge sack against Bama and got to Bryce Young in a big spot. Like, those are the things that this defense needs on the field. And if he's a 22, 23-year-old kid who can bring that, good on him. I just hope he is truly healthy. He said he's fine. He's like, no one ever told me I needed surgery.
Yeah,
that kind of sucks for the kid too, because he got screwed out of a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I looked at Pro Football Focus, and what they said, Nakobe Dean was the best player on the best defense college football has ever seen. He slid in the draft largely because of injuries, but even if he has to redshirt an entire season, Dean will be a steal at this spot in the draft. Few linebackers have ever had the kind of play recognition that Dean possesses, and his tape is full of elite playmaking. This is one of the steals of the draft.
I mean, listen,
there's not sure what else you need to say there.
His like pro comp is Devin Bush.
At an absolute desperate need that this team has.
Yes. I mean, we're talking like Devin Bush, Roquan Smith, Matt Milano, like these are players, like those are his comps, man. Like that's wild to me. We've not had any linebackers to that caliber. So super pumped about Nakobe Dean and really excited about the possibilities of what that could look like for their defense moving forward, because it's not a position that they've had a ton of value in. Their first 2 picks were trench picks.
Yeah.
And certainly when this came around in the 3rd round, it was a no-brainer. They couldn't ignore it.
Yeah.
Let's jump back to the Cam Jurgens pick from Nebraska, the center. I know a lot of people were angry when it came down, and I think some of that was because the Joel news got announced basically simultaneously. But listen, Jason Kelce went nuts when this pick came through, and that's because he handpicked him. I think it's really cool that the Eagles have asked him over the last couple of years to find a guy that he likes, a guy that he thinks could be his replacement, his heir apparent. And this is the dude he chose. He met him in person at one of his visits to the complex. They went over some film together, talked, and Kelce walked away saying, this is a dude who can replace me athletically, mentally. He's the guy. And, I didn't realize this, but Sirianni said in the press conference after they picked him that he's got positional versatility. I wouldn't be shocked, Regs, if he's starting at right guard this year. It would not shock me, because now you've got 2 possible predecessors flanking Jason Kelce. You've got Dickerson on his left, and you've got Jurgens on his right, and kind of hearing his calls, seeing what he's seeing. There's going to be a competition there, because you still have Semualu is still around, and Driscoll is still around, and they're both really talented players. They just released Nate Herbig yesterday.
Yeah.
Because of all the depth they have at interior offensive line. So I don't know your thoughts. I'm thrilled with the pick. I think anybody that Jason Kelce handpicks, I'm good with. So
I think that's the difference
excited
in people feeling okay about it.
Right.
Admittedly, I don't know a lot about these guys. So when you pick a center,
I can't claim to know a lot about him.
You just kind of, and his draft grade isn't great. Like, people didn't have him in the top 100, in some places.
Mm-hmm.
But look, if you're going to go off anybody, and if Jason Kelce is going to be that invested into the kid, you have to think that he's going to put in not only a lot of work with him over this next year for the year that he signed, but I don't doubt that Jason Kelce comes back as like an assistant offensive line coach or some sort of position on the coaching staff to continue to aid in this kid's, progression.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's that invested in him, at this point, you have to trust him.
Yeah,
I think, and I think that's what the pick was about. The pick was about Sirianni and Howie hearing directly from Jason, and that was it. And if that's what you're going to go on, I can't bash him for that. I can't, I don't know if it was the best pick at that time. But if you're going to go on that, okay. What can you say?
And you're saying that, Kelce's going to mentor him, right?
Yeah, I would.
Did you see? I'm halfway joking. Did you see what Ryan Tannehill said today?
No.
They asked him about Malik Willis and mentoring him, and he said it wasn't his job to mentor him.
The whole Brett Favre line.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to,
see how that worked out. We see how that worked out for Brett.
Yeah. Put some fear into him. Okay, Ryan Tannehill, because you're going to strike fear.
Right. Yeah. Good job, Ryan.
Yeah. Your number one wide receiver won it out.
Right.
Yeah. He won it out. But
to Jalen Hurts, who hasn't thrown a good deep ball in 3 years.
Yeah.
This is
listen, is wow. Yeah, we're getting there to him. And then they moved a lot of picks around and ended up picking twice in the 6th round. Don't know a lot about Kyron Johnson. The only thing that I do know is that he absolutely destroyed Trevor Penning in one-on-one at the Senior Bowl this year. There's video of it.
I saw that.
And Penning's the 1st round pick, I think, of the Saints. He's definitely going to be like a Hassan Reddick type player. Will he make the team? Who knows? There's a lot of energy there, though, man. Like that kid's a bullet coming off the line. Like he's a freight train. I think he's kind of how we envisioned Jannard Avery being. That's sort of what I see him being. And then Regs, I really liked the Grant Calcaterra pick, the tight end from SMU.
Why?
So, he played at Oklahoma too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he crossed over a little bit with Jalen. So once I got over the fact that he was a fireman, because I still have nightmares about Andy Reid picking Danny Watkins back in 2011. And Danny Watkins never playing a snap for the Eagles. I went and I looked at Calcaterra's scouting stuff from prior from 2017 to 2019 before he quit football because of the concussions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of places had him as a first or second round pick. And then I was like, all right, so I got to go watch some film of him. And I mean, this dude catches everything. And in that offense at SMU, he had to do a lot of blocking, and he did have to catch the football quite a bit. And they need a tight end too. They really do need a tight end too. Again, we'll keep bringing Richard Rodgers back, I guess. He'll keep coming back, and I'm drawing a blank on the kid who's there right now, who played some snaps for them this year. Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. It'll come.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, it's gonna come to me. It'll get there. But I think Calcaterra is a really good pick there, and I'm excited to kind of watch and see how he sort of develops, because again, I think they need that second tight end. They read a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets.
Yeah.
Hey, real quickly, I wanted to mention this because I feel badly about it. Not that he's ever going to hear it, but on our last show, I talked about Damone Clark, the linebacker from LSU, and I said that he might have dropped off boards because of character stuff.
Yeah.
So what I read, I totally misread, and I'm embarrassed to say that, but I feel like I need to say it again just to own it. So he wore number 18 at LSU. Mm-hmm. And I think, reading back on it, that means he has high character. They give that number out. No one can pick it. You have to earn that number.
Okay.
The reason he dropped is because he had a severe herniated disc injury.
Aha.
So I just feel like I needed to say that's my bad. I don't ever want to attack someone's character if it's not truly necessary. Even as much as I joke about Brandon Nimmo and Tyler Hero, I truly would never mean any of that stuff. And that's been eating at me since the draft. When I saw he wore number 18, I was like, well, that's weird because I'm pretty sure that means he's high character. And I misread it in the article that I read. It says he's a high character kid. So that's on me. So Damone, if you ever do listen, my bad.
Shout out to you, Damone.
Yeah, shout out to you, Damone, for being high character. But you're a Cowboy, so I can't like you.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. That's the end of you'll be right there with Brandon Nimmo and Tyler Hero now. All right, so back to Thursday night when our worlds stopped for a second, and it was announced that the Eagles would be trading pick number 18 and a 3rd round pick for a top 5 to 8 wide receiver in the NFL, in AJ Brown, in the middle of his prime at the age of 25 to play with his best friend, Jalen Hurts. Wow, man.
Yeah.
Wow. I cannot wait. I cannot wait, Regs. Listen, say what you want about Jalen Hurts. I get it. But this is a game changer for him. And if he can't figure it out with this, then we know. That's it. But, dude, no one's going to be able to cover what this offense has now. There's not enough personnel on the defense, at least in the Eagles division, to cover these dudes. There's just not. You can't cover AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. You can't cover all of them while worrying about the running game that this team has with the offensive line that it has. They added Zach Pascal, who's a 600 plus wide receiver the last 2 seasons. Quez Watkins is still dangerous. You know, Dallas Goedert, for crying out loud, in the middle of the field. Like, what AJ Brown does for this offense cannot be spoken to or attested to enough. I know he hasn't set foot on the field, but this is a dude who put up almost 1,000 yards in a Derrick Henry offense. Derrick Henry basically ran the ball until he couldn't even stand anymore.
Yeah.
And Ryan Tannehill, like, really? Like, you could put up those numbers with Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback and Derrick Henry as the lead of an offense. I think you can do it with Devontae Smith standing across the field from you and Dallas Goedert lined up next to you and the running game that the Eagles have. I don't know, man. I know I'm Mr. Optimistic, but it's really hard to be pessimistic about this.
Try,
though. Try if you will.
I don't need to. I don't want to. Just for the record, I don't want to. I think you're right. I think this is what we were hoping to have across the field from Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
A guy who draws the pressure away from him. And I think with, like you said, with Goddard and with Pascal now in his true sort of slot position where I'm sure they envisioned him this whole time. But now instead of having a nobody next to Pascal on either side, you either have Smith or AJ Brown on the, standing next to him. I just think that it's what we needed. It's hopefully a guy who can, obviously he wants to be here, which is a great part of that. And then second of all, a guy who can hopefully give some really great advice to Devontae on how to be a successful wide receiver in this league with a quarterback who's not Aaron Rodgers, who's not the most accurate passer in the whole world, which Ryan Tannehill is not. And Jalen Hurts is not, right? So I think that experience will hopefully help both of them, just the ability to get open and be that open that not even a mediocre quarterback can miss you. That's the idea. And hopefully Sirianni can figure out a way to tailor this offense to all these weapons. I think we saw that at times Devontae wasn't getting the touches he needed in this offense. I hope that Sirianni can adjust and figure out a way to get the ball to these playmakers just over and over and over again. Do I know for a fact he's going to do it? No. Am I hopeful? Yes. Am I happy that it's AJ Brown? Yes, I am. Am I happy that he wants to be here and he signed an extension? Absolutely. I'm very hopeful for how it's going to work out. I just hope that Sirianni is up to the task of getting, like, you don't just have one now. You've got 3. Like, Goddard wasn't used all the time last year. Devontae didn't get enough touches in certain games that he needed to. Now you got 3 of them that are going to need to get their touches in order to be impactful. You have a quarterback that has to, make certain progressions and be able to do what you're asking him. And then it's balancing that with a run game that was really, really good and hopefully will continue to be. So I think they're in a very good spot. The Eagles are in a very good spot offensively.
Yeah, I think wrapping the AJ Brown conversation it's interesting. There's an interesting dynamic here because, this is basically saying to Jalen, look, you're a young guy and we're going to load up on talent around you and you got to make it work now. You got to show us that you can make it work. The other side of it is, what if he doesn't make it work and you let AJ Brown's best friend go? Because when I say they're best friends, like they are truly best friends.
How did they become best friends? Do we know how this happened?
I don't know if it was through like high school ball, if it was through college ball, but like they're truly like the best of friends. The day AJ got drafted, like Jalen was right next to him. So
listen, this is on Jalen.
yeah, he's got to make it work.
This is your chance, man.
Yeah. And I listen, look, I don't know that there are many people rooting against the kid. Like he's one of those kids that's really easy to root for. Like he's really easy to root for.
Yeah, I think it's beyond that. I think it's purely down to the flaws that we've seen in his ability as a passer and a quarterback.
Can they be fixed? Right.
Right.
Like,
exactly. Can he work enough? Can he work hard enough and recognize them and then fix them to a point that we see the progression that we're looking for?
Sure.
You can't be stagnant with the weapons around you now. You can't have the same year you did last year with the difference in the weapons that you have now. You can't because you'll clearly be the weakest link. So you just can't do it. You have to show that you can progress and understand the issues from last year and get better.
Yep.
Because it's not you can't blame the things around you anymore.
Oh no, for sure not.
You couldn't you could barely do it last year. Now you have nothing. You have no leg to stand on.
Not at all. Not at all. Nope. Well, I think, and just real quickly here, I just touching on a couple. So again, they didn't go safety or corner in this draft. So that's something we're gonna have to talk about as time goes on. A couple of highlights though from the undrafted free agent thing. It's not something that we would talk about a whole lot, but Howie made a comment. Saw in an article, I guess it was day 3 on Saturday. Yeah. Saw in an article, like someone said that Howie walked into the scouting room and was like, we're going to pay more money for free agency once the draft's over than any other team. And my goodness, did they ever. They gave like 3 different guys like a $250,000 like guaranteed,
there you go.
which is like unheard of in the undrafted free agency. Mario Goodrich is one of them, the corner from Clemson. Honestly, we'll probably step right in and compete for that CB2 job. I think they're going to bring in a veteran. I think if any position they bring in a veteran, it's going to be that for there. But yeah, look for this kid. If you get some time, watch him film, watch some tapes of him. He's fun to watch. He had like 5 picks last year. They brought in Josh Jobe, defensive back from Alabama, can play safety or corner. I'll be interested to see what they do with him. I see him probably as a safety in the NFL, but interesting that they took him. He wasn't one of the guys they gave a lot of money to. That was a defensive tackle, was another guy, Ellis, I believe, from an SEC school. I didn't write his name down though. Not enough to talk about there. Kennedy Brooks, the running back from Oklahoma, found that interesting. Really talented running back. Actually was shocked that I didn't get drafted when I saw that he wasn't drafted. Really surprised me. And then there's 2 more names, and I'll ask you which one you want first. You want the receiver or the quarterback?
Receiver.
Okay, so Britton Covey is a wide receiver from Utah. Kind of reminds me of like a Julian Edelman like type slot receiver. But dude's like a pure punt returner, and I actually think that he's gonna get that job. But another one, if you watch the Rose Bowl this year, I'm pretty sure he had 2 touchdowns in that game. One of them was a punt return. If you haven't seen it, search it because it's a ridiculous punt return in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, I do think I saw that.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous punt return. And actually, before I go over to the quarterback, in my second mock, I got one guy right, but they took him in free agency. It was Reed Blankenship, the safety from South Middle Tennessee State. Like, come on, like. Let's go, Reed.
There you go.
There it is.
Good for you, Reed.
The quarterback that they took and gave a high signing bonus to is Carson Strong, the quarterback from Nevada.
Oh, another Carson.
Yeah, don't let the name throw you. Before his knee injury, before the bowl game. He was probably going to be like a day 2 pick, if not early part of day 3. This dude has an absolute rocket. I mean, this dude just throws piss missiles. Like I can't wait to watch him play in training camp. I do believe, honestly, Regs, that he's their plan for the number 2 spot next season after Minshew goes. I think that this is a guy who they want to develop if he can stay healthy. Yeah, he's another guy. If you haven't and you're listening, go just pull up Carson Strong YouTube videos and watch this guy throw a football. Like,
I'm going to do that.
You have to.
You
absolutely have to. So just some fun names there to keep an eye on. There are a couple guys who I think can make the team right out of camp. I think Britton Covey has a shot to win that like 5th wide receiver job. Like he'll compete with Greg Ward for that spot. But I think, you've got your 4 main guys, and then he's got a shot to be number 5 and get the punt return job. And I think that's going to give him the leg up. He and Greg Ward can both return punts. Greg Ward basically just calls for fair catches, though. Covey can actually return punts. Kennedy Brooks has a shot to win the 4th running back job. Definitely has a shot to win the 4th running back job. Carson Strong has a chance to make the team if they decide to trade Minshew. And Job and Goodrich both have a shot. I think Goodrich has a really good shot of making that cornerback room. So we'll see. We'll get more into that as the summer camp gets rolling here, because obviously the baseball team's not going to give us a lot to talk about. So, indulge me in a Joel moment.
All right.
So tonight I'm fixated on Embiid. Riggs, I don't know that there's ever been a player that I wanted more to succeed than I do Joel Embiid. This guy has been through it. Like, he has been through it. Like, came here, had that Liz Frank injury, right? Like, missed 2 full seasons to start his career. Then he had the lower body injuries early in his career, like that he came out of the Liz Frank, and he had like the knee stuff that was bothering him. He was a little overweight, so he had to go ahead and lose all that weight. Never complained, never blamed anybody, just kind of like went about his business, improved his game along the Ben Simmons stuff this past year. Had an orbital fracture in the playoffs 2-3 years ago and had to overcome that. All office changes, right? Like, yeah, you had Brett Brown and went to Doc, which isn't a crazy amount of changes, but think about the front office changes that he's gone through. All the faces that have come in and out of the locker room, his closest friends leaving, JJ leaving, Jimmy Butler leaving, the GM talking crap on him on Twitter. Like, this dude has been through it, Regs, and here we are again, playing through torn ligaments in his thumb, having Colin Cowherd say all that nonsense about him, blaming him for everything, and then another orbital bone fracture and a concussion. And and you could say last year snubbed for an MVP. This year is going to be snubbed for an MVP. And what does he do? Like, reflects, says he has to get better, comes back better the next year. And I just so badly want him to be rewarded for that. I want him to be rewarded. I don't. I wanted the MVP, but I really wanted him to have his revenge tour and beat the Heat, and then go and beat like the Celtics or the Bucks and beat Giannis. And like, I think that's like all falling apart around us now, and I just feel badly for the guy. I so much want for him to have the success that he has worked so hard for. I know he's not liked around the league. He's a lot of people's hate the face guys. He's a lot of people Brandon Nimmo. He's a lot better at his sport than Brandon Nimmo is at his, though. Let's be very fair about that. But Joel deserves success. And I don't mean just success in a vacuum of like what he has right now. Because like he's got a beautiful wife. He's got a child. He's about to get like French citizenship so he can play for the French national team. He's got all kinds of deals with advertising and marketing and his own shoes but like this guy wants a title more than anything. And I, like, as a fan, don't know that there's a player that I've wanted to have a title more than I want Joel Embiid. Like, I can't think of another Philadelphia athlete that I really wanted that for, maybe outside of Roy Halladay. Like, and Roy wasn't like ours completely. Like, we borrowed Roy and he became ours. Joe is ours. And I so badly want for him to have that ring. And I will be fixated on that probably from the moment I read that he was out with the orbital fracture until next season starts, and we got to start this whole freaking journey all over again. Unless somehow they find a miracle. But I'm fixated on our boy Joe, and I just so badly want for him to be rewarded. There will be another Joel Fixated when he loses the MVP, because I'm going to go absolutely off during that one. But for now, we're going to stick to this. I just hate it for him, Regs.
Yeah, it's a bummer. But hey, you never know. You never know what can happen. That's why they play the games, right?
Listen, Mr. Positivity over there.
I'm trying.
Mr. Optimistic in the house.
I'm trying.
Mr. Optimistic.
I have to keep it balanced,
I don't know what to, I don't know what to do with you right now.
I like to keep you on your toes, big guy. I like to keep you on your toes.
I don't know what to do with you. I mean, listen. Hey, thanks for hanging out tonight, man.
There's nowhere I'd rather be, Ezzy, than talking to the great people who listen to this podcast or watch on
YouTube. The Phixated Nation. I love them so much. Soon, I think in the doldrums of summer, guys, we're going to get you a chance to come in and actually talk to us on the air, do like a question answer type of thing.
We are. We're going to put on the Facebook group and on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, we'll maybe make a little video on YouTube on how to get into the Discord server. We'll have a little waiting room for everybody to hang out, and then we're just going to pull people. We're going to pull people into the live show. Be able to ask your question. Maybe have a little back and forth.
Yeah.
If you're a dick, I just throw you out, and that's it. And then if you're cool, we maybe keep you in there for a few minutes. It's really up to you.
It's all you control your own destiny.
That's right.
You control your own destiny. But for now, make sure you give us a follow at the Phixated Pod on Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow the Phixated fan page on Facebook. You got to ask to be let in, though. I don't just let anybody in. You got to get permission to get in there. Make sure you hit subscribe below on the YouTube channel here so that you get all of our platform podcasts, not just the Phixated, but the Two-Way Miss as well. And again, make sure you follow at the Phixated Pod on Twitter. Make sure you follow at Birdies and Beer Pods on Twitter. Make sure you follow me, the Mic Drop 5, on Twitter as well. You'll see me complain quite a bit about Joe Girardi and Glenn Rivers and praise Howie Roseman. So we always appreciate everybody listening and taking the time to, just listen to two guys banter about Philly sports. The reason that we're coming out early with this is because I'm sleeping on my school's roof on Thursday night.
There you go.
That's where I'll be if you need me. I'll be there complaining about the Phillies and probably sulking over
We need a live reaction video from the roof, I think, to put on YouTube.
I'll give you one. I got some Phixated fans coming up there with me.
There you go.
So I'll make sure maybe we'll do a nice little.
We got to do something. You got to do something.
Yeah. Gotta do something up there.
All right.
So, all right. Well, hey everybody, thanks for listening, and hopefully we're 1-1 tomorrow in both Philadelphia series, the Rangers, Phillies, and the Sixers, Heat. And until next week, my friends, thanks so much for listening. Be good, stay safe. We appreciate all of you, and take care.
Have a good night, everybody.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 world champions of baseball.